Hi there, folks, and welcome to another edition of Israel Explained. Is Netanyahu going to try to delay the second phase of the ceasefire edition? So, we have a lot to get to and a lot of drama, so let's get right to it. According to Channel 12, a report from Nir Dvorin, Netanyahu is planning to ask Trump in their upcoming meeting to delay the second phase of the ceasefire and first pursue the macro goals of normalization with Saudi Arabia and the destruction of the Iranian nuclear capacity. Um, both those things have so far been, long-standing challenges and would take many months to complete. Therefore, theoretically at least, delaying the realization of the second phase by several months. That would, of course, lead to far increased risk to the lives of the hostages. As you may remember, there was almost a deal in summer, in July of 2024. That didn't happen for various reasons, and several hostages died not long after. Other hostages have died in the interim. If this happens again, it seems very likely that out of the 60 hostages that will remain for the second phase, about half of which are still alive, more may lose their lives in the interim. Trump hinted as much, so perhaps there's been some preparation for this from the Israeli team when he said, I have no guarantees that the Gaza ceasefire will hold. However, Netanyahu has vehemently denied this reporting and said that there is absolutely no truth to it, fake news, etc. Steve Witkoff, who is in charge of these negotiations, has said that he has clear orders from Trump to complete the second stage of the ceasefire. Having said that, I've looked into it. This report seems quite solid. Netanyahu does seem to have this intention. And another sign that this is true have been the insistent reports that Netanyahu is planning to make changes to his negotiating team. So far, the negotiating team for the hostage deal has been made up of some of the top security minds in the country. Nitzan Alon for the IDF, Dedi Barnea for the Mossad, and Ronen Bar for the Shabak. According to the latest reporting, Barnea and possibly Bar are going to be removed from the negotiating team, and the head of the negotiating team is going to be Ron Dermer, who is the politician who is closest to Netanyahu, therefore changing the makeup of the negotiating team from one that is primarily security oriented to one that is primarily politically oriented, which of course is an indication that politics are going to triumph over security in the calculations over whether to have a continuation of the security deal or not. It sends quite the message after Bar, Barnea, and Alon have already gotten two hostage deals successfully. It's true that there have been a lot of problems with the negotiations, but overall, they've completed their tasks well and gotten a lot of hostages out against a terror organization that is very difficult to deal with. And the truth is, as much criticism as we have for these negotiations, they deserve a lot of credit for what they've done. And being removed is not the thanks that they deserve. So, um, why is this happening? The main reason, as always, is Bezalel Smotrich and Ben Gvir. Ben Gvir's already technically left the coalition, but he hasn't really. He's still voting with the coalition. It wasn't a real leaving, and Smotrich remains in the coalition. And Smotrich is saying that he's against any deal, especially if Israel needs to leave the Philadelphia corridor, which it's supposed to do in a few days, and that he's also against Saudi normalization. Um, there's a pretty good chance that any initiative to delay the second stage of the hostage release will fall. It's hard to imagine Saudi Arabia going along with a plan to normalize before the end of the conflict. What Saudi Arabia wants is for the conflict to end and for the Palestinian Authority to go into Gaza. That way, they can have the stability that they need in order to move forward. If Israel is at war with Hamas in Gaza, Israel's killing a lot of civilians in Gaza, those are not the optics that MBS wants while he's normalizing with Israel. So it's very hard for me to imagine any of that happening. Um, Smotrich said very clearly that anything that's given to the PA as part of normalization will be a reward for October 7th. And he said that yesterday. Um, he said things like that before, but Netanyahu was livid this time because it helps torpedo this move that he's trying to do to pivot towards a normalization. As he's trying to do this, the best thing Smotrich can do is shut up. But Smotrich is not very good at at shutting up. The real concern that Netanyahu has is that if Smotrich and Ben-Gvir don't let him complete the ceasefire deal, but also don't let him normalize with Saudi Arabia as an alternative, he's going to appear to Trump as a lame duck who can't get anything done. At which point, there's a good chance Trump gets sick of him and tries to remove him. After all, if we look at Trump as a utilitarian president who's trying to achieve certain deals here, if Netanyahu can't achieve any deals, he becomes useless to Trump. And Netanyahu is really on the verge of that happening if he can't do either one of those things. And Smotrich is the one who could place him in that predicament. Meanwhile, the Arab League is working on a new initiative. They've been very disturbed by the reports that Trump wants to ethnically cleanse, remove the Palestinians from Gaza, whatever you want to call it, to other countries. Some of the countries he's talked about include Indonesia, possibly Albania, and most disturbing to them, Jordan and Egypt. That's something that they don't want. They're also disturbed by the possibility that Israel will renew the war in Gaza without bringing the PA in, causing instability in their countries. So, in the Arab League conference, there has been a new motion to revive the 2002 peace initiative, but move it more towards something that Israel and Trump can accept. Obviously, the secret to getting something done now would be to have Trump accept the initiative. So they're going to try to get something that Trump can accept with more concessions to try to head off the expulsion of Palestinians from the Gaza Strip, to try to keep the ceasefire on track, and most importantly, from their perspective, to get the Palestinian Authority into Gaza instead of Hamas, because the Arab League, with really no exceptions anymore, the exception used to be Syria, want to see Hamas weakened and want to see the Palestinian Authority strengthened. So there's actually a meeting of interests between Trump and the Arab League, but one that doesn't suit Netanyahu, who's trying to politically survive in Israel. Needless to say, Netanyahu prioritizing his survival over the hostages is a morally reprehensible thing to do, but it's something that we're already used to at this point. If indeed Netanyahu can't get a hostage deal done and can get normalization done, that means that he's reached the end of his road as prime minister and should vacate for someone who can get these very important goals achieved for Israel and for the stability of the Middle East. So, thank you for watching. If you like what I do here, consider supporting me on Patreon at Shael Media. Consider listening to my History of the Land of Israel podcast, where I put one out about the destruction of the Kingdom of Israel by the Assyrians. And I'm working on one about the Kingdom of Judah after that fall. So, check out all that stuff, and I will see you here the next time something interesting happens.